Hey guys, so I am about to do a walkthrough of my yard. Right now what I'm going to be doing is planning for my initial drawing of how I want everything to be in my landscape garden. So generally when you're trying to plan stuff out, it's a lot easier to get all your information together and then sort of look at it all at once in relation to all its parts. So basically what that looks like for me is I want to compile my information, which I'm going to do a walkthrough and get my information. Then I'm going to put a drawing together that will have my whole yard and different variables in the yard, and so that I can really kind of take everything into account and make some accurate decisions about where I want to have everything and why. So behind me here, you can see, is my side yard. That's where I'm going to start. Again, I'm going to leave the front yard the way it is. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be walking through my yard, and I'm just going to make observations. So some observations you want to start with is, what time is it? You may be saying, well, why does that matter? Well, as most of you know, we are on Earth, and the Earth rotates around the sun, so the position of the sun is going to change due to the rotation and all that. So depending on what time of day it is, your light and where your shadows are, that's going to change. So right now I think it's about 10:30 a.m. and so that's where I'm going to start with. I'm going to just talk about my observations as I'm walking through the yard. And then after that, I will then go inside and I'll just get a piece of paper basically, and I will then write down all my observations that I've recorded on this video. For you guys, I mean, you can just take your phone and do a voice record as you're walking through and just record what you're saying. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. And then go inside and do your drawing as well. So after this, we'll go inside and we'll do a drawing. Alright? So in my front yard here, on the side, we have that fence again. As I was saying before, the plan is to have some crawlers growing on the fence to really take advantage of the vertical space that's already there. And by the way, vertical gardening is pretty awesome. You can YouTube some videos about that, and I might make a video about that later, but right now, priorities. So this side yard, the whole side yard, is pretty narrow. I have some plants that I've already put in that you can see down the side there. I've already mulched that area. And so the majority of that space is taken up. However, I know that right now, this side yard is getting morning sun and full afternoon shade almost because of the house. So, for that, I may go ahead and do my lettuce and things there. That's my initial ideas about that, but we'll see. But it's pretty full right now, so whatever I put in, it's not going to take up a lot of space. It'll probably be sporadic. And the other thing I'd like to note, that this whole side yard is also sloped. It's sloped back to the backyard, and it's also sloped down towards the house. So the area by the fence is actually higher than the area by the house. The other thing, as I'm walking through here, you have some, let's see if I can get this over here. I have a, where are you? utilities. This is a good time to point out that you definitely want to make sure that you're not planting anything that will get in the way of your utilities, because inevitably somebody's going to come in, check your utilities, and they're going to ruin your plants. So just be really mindful of that. Don't make the utility workers work harder, and don't waste your time. So just be mindful of that. So we also have this lovely tree right here. It's actually a rose of Sharon. I was going to get rid of it, but I left it because I sort of prune it up and not out like they like to be. But we're going to keep that. And also in the ground here, we have some irises that, or not irises, I'm sorry, some hemerocallis, some daylilies that usually come up. So I know that I'm not going to really plant anything in this area. It usually gets really full, and I think you can, oh, there we go. You can actually probably see some of that right there coming up. So, there's some lovely stumps here I need to take out. And then when we come back over here, we have some bushes and some trees on either side. Probably will not utilize that space very much, just because I like kind of having the separation from that little side yard walk area from the actual backyard. I just like that it kind of opens up into the backyard. So in the backyard here, as I said, I'm going to leave the green space, so the majority of my backyard is not going to change. I'm just going to be changing the landscaping, so to speak. Basically, around the edges is what I'm going to stick to. You know, a lot of people will put their yard, you know, put plants in the yard that are aesthetically pleasing. But with my landscape gardening, I'm going to put plants in that I can eat. So, it's going to look like somebody had landscaped their yard, only the plants that are in there will be edible. So as I'm walking around here, you might have noticed in my previous video, I'll show you again here, I have a couple of buckets that I had started some roses in, and I started them in the buckets because I can move them. I had started working on my backyard, but then didn't have quite enough time to finish. So putting them in the buckets makes them movable. Of course, I drill holes in the bottom for drainage, but I can still work on the space and around the space without disturbing them. They will most likely stay in those areas. I think I'll just leave them there because I've only got 2 in the backyard. So I'll probably just leave them there. They're roses, they're pretty, and a little bit of, you know, pretty stuff in there is not going to hurt anything. So right now, I have this little area right here. It's sort of a little pathway I was making, and I'll just show you real quick. It just comes back here behind this Japanese or Chinese privet, and then it comes back out over here, or come through here. This area right here, I'm going to put in a little water feature, if you can see that. Hopefully we'll get that finished too. And then my yard continues over this way, and so back here it's sloped pretty good. It's not a hill, but it's definitely sloped. So this corner over here is probably the lowest corner in the yard. Basically everything kind of comes to a point here, and so that's really important if you're thinking about water. And so when you're thinking about water, it's going to go where gravity goes. So the lowest point is where all the water is going to collect, And if you think about taking that a step further, that's most likely where the majority of your nutrients in your soil are as well, because the nutrients in your soil become mobile with the addition of water. So when it rains, it goes through your soil. There's some reactions that happen in the soil and around the soil particles themselves, and so sometimes you'll get a release of certain nutrients, and then it sticks with the water until it finally will percolate down through the soil, and then it'll get left in wherever area that is. So low spots tend to be really good areas to garden if you got full sun there. So the other thing I want to mention is I do have this fence. I have a wire fence and a wooden fence on this area over there. I think you can see that. Normally that wouldn't be, that might be an issue for you, but because this isn't, because of the orientation of my yard and my house to where the sun is, it's not an issue for me. By the time the sun gets to the other side of that fence, it's pretty late anyways, and the majority of the sun that the plants really want's already been given. So we'll continue this way. I have this other area over here that is next to my house. You can see that right there. We've got a little bit of a deck coming off there. So this area is actually going to be a really good area for gardening. I already have one crepe myrtle planted there, and he's pretty small right now, and so I'm thinking I might just try to keep him small by some proactive pruning. And I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe build out a small bed in front of this deck here and really utilize that for some of my taller plants. We'll see. But, and then I have this other area over here past my wood chip pile. That's the other side yard, and really we're not going to utilize much of this space because it's a shared driveway. So, the majority of the space that we're going to use there to garden is going to be pretty close to the side of the house. And maybe utilize a little bit of this back corner here where the sunlight is still reaching, but for the majority of the day this is going to be in full shade, so it's not really going to be the best for gardening. Some other things to note, you want to kind of take into consideration the trees leafing out. I know I sort of touched upon that in my previous video. So what you want to take into consideration with that is what kind of tree you have, and then where the sun is, obviously, because it'll make a cast shadow, and then everything that's on the ground behind that will be in full shade. So you really want to take into consideration where the sun is, where your trees are, and a good tip for that is look through your Pinterest or your photo albums, or wherever you have your pictures, and just see if you can find some pictures of the previous summer. That's really going to be the best indication if you really can't remember or really don't know. Just look at some pictures and see where the shadows are. And you can mark that out in your yard and just know that those aren't going to be good places to plant. I think that's pretty much it right now. We don't really have too much that's complicated in our yard, but every yard's going to be different. Every area is going to have different shadows and a different orientation. And so when you're walking through here, you just really want to take some note of some things. that could be problematic, the slope of the land, where the sun is oriented towards structures, towards trees, and for what most gardeners are going to use, you're not going to really do anything too tall unless you're talking about building a fence or a trellis for gardening, and that's something that's definitely feasible. You guys can do that, but for me, I've already got the fences, so I'm going to work smarter, not harder, and I'm just going to utilize what I already have, make it easier for myself. Another thought too is I do have some stairs right over here, and so I have the idea that this grow some food on my stairs too. You can see it right there. Got the stairs. This spot happens to be sunnier than that side yard with the fence on it. So I think I'll probably do 2 successions of maybe some green beans, something like that. Green beans. I also sort of thought maybe cucumbers, pickling cucumbers, something like that. I don't think I would do the full size on there just because there's not as much for the plant to hold on to there as the fence. The fence has more stabilizers, I guess you could say, for the plant to hold on to. And the stairs don't. So I think I'll stick to lighter fruits and vegetables for that. We'll go inside and we will get a drawing going. So I'll see you guys in a second.